And yeah, let's get on with it. So I will just jump straight into pretty much of a sort of progress check-in. I'm just going to bring the pictures up first, and then I'm going to go around the table again and have a chat with you all. So let me just share this just very briefly. There are a lot less slides today, you'll be glad to hear. It's going to be a lot more me talking to each individual person to try and provide you with as much support on this last day as I possibly can that is dedicated to you as an individual, that is bespoke and designed to support you. Because as I said last time, this is kind of general advice. And although general advice can be interesting, it's not always practical for people to implement. So just a quick whiz through some of the pictures that you sent me through on your balanced meal. Now, some people here have special diets, so they may not be quite exactly special, but then that also highlights the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect. We are aiming to get towards that. Think of it as a journey. This is not something that needs to be perfect. And you certainly don't need to do this every single day for every single meal. But the more days you do it and the more meals you do it, the more effective you will find this to be. So first of all, look at all the green on these plates. Oh, yeah! Hardly any beige at all. I think there's pretty much not really anything beige colored, which is my definition of beige, is basically like pastries, bread items, those sorts of things. Pretty much nothing is beige on there. So congratulations to everybody that sort of took part in this part of it, because you really smashed it out of the park. Loads of protein on there. As I said yesterday, Mark was probably going to be the one that's struggling with the protein, so I'm going to have a chat with him about his lentil wrap there. Oops, just popped onto the next slide there. His lentil wrap there, so see how he got on with that and how filling it was. Some people had to eat out. I'm very sorry for you. You know, it must be a real chore to eat out. But anyway, that's, as you can see, still plenty of veg on there. When I eat out, and if I am looking to try and make it a bit healthier, which I'm not always when I go and eat out, sometimes I just want a friggin' burger and fries, and that's okay. But sometimes when I've maybe, especially with the holiday season, festive season, birthdays, Christmases, New Year, that sort of thing, and you start to eat out a little bit more, there's a lot more social events. That's when you start to have this kind of food, but you also order some extra veg on the side. You don't have to eat all of it, because chances are other people will also dip into it as well. So ordering an extra portion of carrots, broccoli, spinach, whatever, just something on the side, just to give it a little bit extra, is the way to do that when you're going out and about. But again, it doesn't have to be every single time. If you want to go out and enjoy a meal, go out and enjoy a meal. If you're going out and enjoying a meal every single day, then yeah, you maybe want to think about how you're going to tone that down a little bit. And then we've had a chat with Bill and Will. So this was some leftover meatballs and spaghetti. So they threw a shitload of veg on it, which is brilliant. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm looking for. I think this is actually a previous night one, so I've put that in by error, but that's fine. And then we've got Norman's special diet, but good dose of protein on there, loads of salad and a little bit of sweet potato, great balance. And again, you can see people are trying to cram as much veg on their plate as possible. You're getting at least 50% on most of these plates, which is absolutely fantastic. And then loads of protein on this plate, loads of veg on this plate, and just a small bit of carbohydrate on there. Absolutely spot on. You guys have really knocked it out of the park with this one. You should be really, really pleased with yourself. Now, obviously, the trick is to keep doing this as much as possible. um, don't aim for perfection, aim for 50 to 80% getting there, and that's probably going to get you on the right path. So I'm just going to go around the room and find out what worked well for people, what people struggled with, and what they are going to try differently. So I'm fascinated to find out how Mark got on, because obviously the protein bit was going to be the challenge for him. So Mark, how did you get on?
I got on really well. Um, I was a bit surprised because I was skeptical that that would actually be filling and nourishing. So I did have a third taco, however, but I found that that sustained me fairly well through the evening. Although as it was getting closer to bedtime, there was this, maybe you should have a little snack. And then I remembered, nah, let's have a glass of water instead. And it's probably just something that we can, it, one of the things that I struggle with is the difference between hunger and satiety and emotional eating. I think Bill posted something in the group um, about wanting to talk more about relationships with food. And one of the things that I try and ascertain is this an emotional signal or is it an actual physical hunger signal? So I kind of ignored it, and I got up this morning, and I'm starting to play Paul's veg game, which is let's see how much veg we can smash into our meal. And I had this phenomenal tofu scramble, which came in at about 20 grams of protein. And it's been a fantastic morning. And I got on fairly well, I think.
Brilliant. Really good. Yeah, it is Paul's veg game. I'm going to have to trademark that, I'm afraid. uh, um, but yeah, um, because the proteins that you tend to deal with tend to be slightly lower percentage wise, you do have to sort of push it a little bit further. And it might be that initially, yeah, it is a 3 taco meal. But what you'll find is that as you progress, you find that actually this is going beyond just satisfying you. It's now actually making you feel a little bit more full than you'd like. And that's when you tone it down a bit. Um, but for the moment, having a play around with that and seeing what does fill you up, what does make you feel satisfied, um, and being aware of what that feels like. Because feeling full is different to being satisfied. And obviously, we're all familiar with the festive season when we're feeling even more than full. And it's actually really uncomfortable to even sit down. So there are different levels of being satisfied. And there is, this, you've probably seen this Japanese town that everybody lives to like 100, and their phrase that they live by is eat until you're 80% full. And that's kind of, again, journey. It's not necessarily where we just suddenly want to be, but that's kind of where you want to make yourself feel that you're moving towards that. So that definitely works. And with the having the 2 or 3 tacos, it is trial and error. It is going to be something that you'll experience, you'll learn from, and then the next time you'll think, okay, 2.5 tacos, or ram more stuff in the 2 tacos that I've got. Those sorts of ways will make small improvements. It's a little bit like me with the pasta, learning that 1 handful per person is probably enough. In fact, actually, I could probably do a little bit less than that, because I'm going to be jamming so much more veg into it. So it's great. So what do you think that you will be doing differently going forward?
I've already started implementing it, and that's really upping the non-starchy vegetables. and that's going really well. I had a rice cake with some hummus and a huge salad to kind of up some more of the protein. I did put on some hemp hearts,
Okay.
which are both high in protein, but they're also high in the omega-3s and
Yeah.
6s as well. So um, we're going to really try and dial up the veg and kind of dial back those starchy carbohydrates.
Brilliant. I mean, as I say, I'm not a low carb fanatic,
Right.
but we just rely too much on it. We're using it as a filler all the time. And it's massively calorific, and there's no need for it because our body doesn't need that many calories. What it needs are vitamins and minerals and fiber. There's two different types of fiber, and that's what our body actually needs. So that's fantastic. Really, really good. Really pleased. Well done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So from one specialist diet to the next specialist diet, let's talk to Norman and see, what do you feel has worked well for you?
Well, hello everybody. Yeah, I think that what worked for me was start cooking, making my own meals and preparing my own meals and stop being lazy because what happened with me is that I'm never hungry in the morning. I just have my coffee and I'm fine, till 11 or noon. And 11 or noon is like, I want to eat something, but because I feel like, I used to feel like, I don't want to do. So I just grab a piece of cake, chocolate chip cookies, maybe a can of soda or something. And that was my lunch. And then, everything was there. Or there were some times that I was just not eating anything during the day because I wasn't hungry. I was just drinking water or something, but that's it, And then my education in food was stuffing myself, eat to the point that I cannot eat anything else, and that was satisfying. But then, when I start having all these problems and we start working together and pretty much paying attention to what I'm eating, initially I have a really restricted diet and it was just bland and plain stuff and small portions. That kind of was my introduction to when I start working with you, and then start to adding new ingredients to my meals and start to testing, and see how my body is going to respond to that new um, adding to my regular dishes. And definitely, cooking for myself and little by little adding new stuff to it. It was, it's been really helpful. I found myself not need to stuff all of me to feel satisfied. I am very satisfied with what I'm eating now. And the other thing is I'm not much of the snacking thing because if I want to snack now, it's maybe just an apple or a couple of gluten-free crackers with hummus or the red peppers or green peppers with hummus. So that pretty much is gonna be my snack. I feel satisfied after every meal that I don't feel anything. I don't feel that I need to eat something in between, which before, as I mentioned, my snacking was just, grab a chocolate chip cookies, a bread with stuffed ham, cheese, and something, a lot of mayonnaise on it, and, all the good stuff. But then, it was not helping me at all. So definitely, the cooking and stuff and trying to see, how much color I put in my plate is what is helping me, and I really enjoy it. So, and what I have in between is just, teas and a lot of water, which is fine. It's not something that I have to impose myself, and I think that that's the key about this, that you don't feel that you have to. It's just you just give it a try. And I think that that has been working for me. And I feel way much better than I was before.
Good.
Thank you.
And so what is the main sort of takeaway from you for you, what that you'll be implementing going forward? What's your strategy, do you think?
Yeah, definitely is the portion control. Do not stuff myself with a lot of stuff. Definitely the food that are rich in fiber that help me with my problem.
Mm.
And the other thing is give a try to something new, something different, and see how my body respond to that. I'm still with fish, tuna, and chicken, but I want to feel a little adventure this coming week, and I want to try maybe a little bit of bacon, a little bit of pork, a little bit of beef. I don't know how it's going to happen. It always was a disaster with those things, but I want to give it a try and see how that goes. Definitely, what has been helpful for me is also taking the pictures of each meal so I can, go back to it. If I have some issue, I can go back and see, oh, okay, the new stuff that I tried was this. So maybe I should cut a little bit or maybe not have it yet. So yeah, definitely those are the things that are working for me.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much indeed. And it's interesting about the sort of hunger in the morning thing and not really feeling it, and so not having anything, but then snacking on crap, cakes and biscuits. Whereas actually, if you got up in the morning and you kind of, had a tiny breakfast, like one egg or a tablespoon of Greek yogurt or something like that, just to give you a little bit of something, just to kickstart your metabolism and give you a little bit of nutrition to start your day. It is tough. I am also somebody that doesn't get terribly hungry first thing in the morning, and I may get up like 6-7 o'clock, but I probably won't eat anything until about 10, maybe, if that sort of fits in with my schedule. But I will try to make sure that that first meal that I have is a protein-rich, nutritious meal or snack. And if I am going to have a busy day, then, if I'm still not that hungry, then just a protein shake just works, just kicks me off, gets me going. And that's going to make sure that I make better decisions later on throughout the day. Because if I don't have breakfast, I'm going to be snacking on crap, just the same as everybody else is. That's just the way our bodies react. So by not forcing myself to have breakfast, but making it as easy as possible for me to have something, and doesn't need to be a breakfast, just a little something, will get you on the right track. So that's really good. And also making your own meals is a huge step in the right direction, because even if you make something that would traditionally be classed as an unhealthy meal, when you make it yourself, you never make it with as much sugar, as much salt, as much fat, as much saturated fat as you would have done if you bought it, or got it from a takeaway. As I mentioned yesterday, I had pizza yesterday, but I made the bread, I made the sauce that went on it. I tried to make as much of it myself as I possibly could. And it wasn't perfect. It wasn't, the best, healthiest meal I could have had, but it worked better for me than if I went to a Domino's or a Pizza Hut, because I know that if I have a Domino's or Pizza Hut, I'm going to be so dehydrated because there is so much salt in it. I don't sleep very well at all. I'm rolling around in agony because there was so much bread in the pizza that I've had. I loved it when I ate it. Not so much the after effects. And that's exactly the difference for me, is when I make my own pizza, I do sleep better. I'm not as dehydrated. It's not the best meal I could have had, but I don't want to be perfect. I have no intention of having a salad every single day. Sometimes I'm going to have pizza, and that's exactly the way to do it. Making your own. One of the other guys I was talking to recently was he loves cakes and biscuits and cookies and things like that. And so now he's made a commitment that if he wants cake, if he wants cookie, he's got to make it from scratch. And it's kind of really sort of helped him realize how much sugar, how much flour, how much butter goes into these things. And now he's kind of got into the habit of making smaller amounts of it, because it's a little bit quicker and easier to make and faster to bake, and there's not so much of it. Or he'll give some of it away to his flatmate or neighbors or work colleagues or whatever. But he still gets to have what he likes. He still gets to have his cookies and his cake. But the faff of having to do it himself means he doesn't do it every day, which is, if you want cookies and chocolates and biscuits and cakes, and you have them in your cupboard, you're going to have them every day. And that's a massive, massive difference. So yeah, making your own meals or snacks or treats is absolutely the way forward. So thank you very much for that.
And just something to add is that now that I know the benefit of having, preparing and having a better, things to eat, is I don't eat nothing in the morning, after my coffee. But when I start feeling hungry about 11 or so, I prefer to, have something more substantial than just, snacking. And I make sure that the night before I check my fridge and I know that I can have as an alternative if I'm gonna be busy or something, like the Greek yogurt and some fruit and all that stuff. So definitely very helpful.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you very much, Norman. I really appreciate it. I'm only doing this order in the order of what's on my screen at the moment, so I'm not just randomly picking people, I'm just going around in a circle. So Mikey, you're up next. What did you find beneficial from doing this exercise? What worked well for you?
I thought hi everyone, firstly. It was a bit of a challenge, I'm not gonna lie, and I think it's a good thing for me because as I've got a bit of an issue, an unhealthy relationship with food, and I've had a history of eating disorder. So I'm having to try and rebuild that relationship with food again and not feel guilty every time I eat something. And because what I'd normally do is I would skip breakfast and lunch because I'm too busy at work, and then I'd eat really late in the night, and then I'd start snacking, and my vices would be there used to be takeaways and sugary drinks. But what I really found with these exercises is actually by actually making your own meals, you're actually having to think about, what's actually, I know it sounds really obvious, but what's actually going into your body, and the veg, and actually having the balanced meal, which, at the moment was is the first time I've actually felt full and satisfied,
Yeah.
which is a really good feeling. So it's a big step for me. So there's a lot of takeaways that, like just simple things like, that when we're talking about replacements and thinking about what's going on your plate, what I used to have on my plate, and my biggest thing is portion sizes and and just bad choices. So so there's still a long way to go, but I think that this definitely helped me a lot.
Brilliant. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, it is fascinating when people start to add in a more balanced plate, so more vegetables, a good quality, low glycemic index carbohydrate, a decent amount of protein, how much more satisfied that they feel. You actually feel like this meal has done something for you other than just stop you feel hungry. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's the thing that shocked me the most, is actually being satisfied, and that was quite unusual.
Yeah. And this is
I get it. Yeah.
Brilliant. So this is what clients that have been working with me for a while, this is what clients start to crave. They start to crave vegetables. They start to crave salad. They start to just sort of make the connection with how they're feeling and what their body needs and what it's looking for. So when they do go on holiday or they do go to a friend's house and they have fun food and they have a great time, but they're kind of like come back thinking, oh God, you know what, I could murder a salad or some green beans or some broccoli right now, because they just know what sensation that gives them. And as you were saying, it needs to be kind of a slow process. It needs to be something that you take one meal one day at a time, because a lot of people have a really bad relationship with food to varying degrees. So I think the way that you described it, you just need to be really gentle with yourself and appreciate that sometimes it's not going to go right. And you are going to think, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to have that. And that's okay. The key is next time, or after that, instead of beating yourself up and making yourself feel guilty about it, as I mentioned before, that mistake that you made then is not the issue. The issue happened hours, maybe even days before, and it's been building up. And that's when, shit happens. So think about how you got to that point, what happened before. And so that the next time you can think about how would I like to mitigate that? How would I like to reduce it? Because you can't stop it. You can't fix it. It's always, shit's going to happen in life. But if you can think about what you'd like to do differently, or what you'd like to have to snack on or eat loads of when that happens again, and making that more available so that it's there ready to help you. And for most of the clients that have an issue where they're binging on crap, pretty much 90% of the time is because they missed lunch, they missed breakfast. And they're ending up at the point where their body's just going, feed me. And yeah, your logic goes out the window. So it absolutely makes sense. But same again, it's a journey. Don't think that we can just magically click our fingers and attend a 4-day virtual spa seminar and just fix it all. You're going to fuck up, and that's not the problem. The problem is that you need to think about, okay, yeah, that didn't go as well as I wanted it to, but next time I would like to try doing this. And that's all you need to think about, and just take it slowly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mikey. So next on my screen anyway is Don. Don, what's worked well for you?
Well, I was bad. So we're leaving for Mexico on Saturday, and we live down there for about 3 months a year. And so our friends wanted to have a early Thanksgiving dinner, because Thanksgiving's the last Thursday of November here. And so we got together, and they wanted to have a theme of Mexican food for us, which was nice and great. But Mexican food, here's the deal. Mexican food is not huge on vegetables, right? It's a typical Mexican meal would be like we had, maybe enchiladas, maybe some tacos, and then rice and beans. And that's dinner. That's what you have. And you can find that anywhere. What's hard to find is a restaurant, if you're going out to eat, a restaurant that will serve you any vegetables, not a half a plate of it, but any vegetables. And so that's going to be a bit of a challenge. But the good thing, we have a kitchen, and you can buy vegetables anywhere. I mean, they're widely available.
It's almost like they grow.
Oh, they grow all kinds of vegetables there. They just don't serve them. I don't know why. But so, and I like to cook, so I can do that when I'm cooking at home. That's fine. I'm happy to do that. And I learning about the proportions of what should be where, that makes total sense to me. I can get that. I won't have any problem doing that. I like vegetables, so I won't have any problem doing that. It's just that, when we're down there, we do like to go out. We do like to go out to eat. And so we tend to do that 2 or 3 times a week. And I just don't know, is that going to work? Is that, if I'm eating that kind of thing 2 or 3 times a week, can I make up for it on the other end of the scale, just cooking at home and emphasizing the vegetables and making up for that? Or is it just an exercise in futility to try to pull that off? So that's a biggie. But yeah, like last night we had enchiladas and tacos and beans and rice, and I could have sent you a picture of it, but that's what it was. And it was wrong. It was just all wrong.
No, it wasn't. And I completely disagree with you there that it was wrong. And that and the fact that you wouldn't send me a picture of it, really, that's a red flag. There should not be shame associated with food. Absolutely not. So if you go out and you enjoy a Mexican meal, go out and enjoy a Mexican meal. Don't have shame about it. Having shame about it can unfortunately end up in an eating disorder. And so if that's kind of where you're putting yourself, then yeah, it could be futile because you're saying it's fucked. So I'm just going to just pretend that I'm just gonna not do anything about it because it's already screwed up. Whereas actually, if you were to think, yeah, it's not perfect, how can I make it a little bit better? So how can you make that meal just 5% better?
I'm just stumped. I really am. I don't know. I'm thinking about if there had been a vegetable available, I would have done that. I took the beans, but I mean, and I love beans, no problem with beans, but I don't think that really counts. That's more of a carb, isn't it? And beans versus rice, I don't know. Does it make any difference? And there just wasn't anything else.
Swapping out the some of the rice for beans is better. It is an improvement. It's going to have a percentage of protein in it. It's going to have a lot more fiber in it, which is why beans make us fart. So yeah, absolutely. If you could swap out one of the tacos for a vegetarian taco, a bean taco, maybe not have quite as much rice, have another bean taco instead of another portion of rice. That's how you make it a little bit better. It really is that simple. And the worry and the shame about, oh well, it's bad, so I just may as well have it all, is what will cause you to have the problem. Another alternative that does sometimes work, especially when you have that much of a social life and a social eating and going out, is to not save up to eat out. Okay. Don't skip meals, don't skip snacks, because you're going to be going out and having a big meal later on that isn't great. That's the worst thing you could do, because you're going to struggle to make it more than 5% healthier. So don't go starving. If you go starving, you'll eat more of what's not great for you. So have a really nutritious lunch. Have a really nutritious, filling breakfast. Have a delicious snack before you leave to go for dinner. That way, when you get there, you're not starving. You don't need 3, 4, 5 tacos. You don't need a big bowl of rice. You can actually have smaller portions, still enjoy the great Mexican food, but you don't need to fill up on it because you've been starving yourself all day because you knew you're going to have a bad meal. Does that make sense?
Yes. One of the good things, I go to Puerto Vallarta, and it's a fishing town, so there's tons of fish available, and that's good. I can fill up on that. I mean, we can eat plenty of fish, and I can search around to find maybe places that will have more. So that's one task I've given myself. So yeah, we'll see.
Experiment, see what other things are there, because I think that quite often when you go for a Mexican, you think, oh, I'm just going to have tacos and have this and have that, and that's what a Mexican is. There's a specials board. There's always a selection of different kind of fish, They might have some kind of, do Mexicans have tapas? So there's little tiny dishes of,
Oh, yes.
just little bits and pieces. Having a variety of different sort of tastes instead of having 10 tacos. So you get to experience it all, and do it that way. Have a look at the specials board, because the specials board probably won't have tacos on it.
True.
So have a look and see what's on that, and give that a go. But that's for my clients that have a very busy social life and go out and eat out quite a lot. The key for them has been not to save up the calories to eat it when you go out, to continue to have nutritious breakfasts and lunches, and even a snack before they go, so that when they do go out, they're not starving. They're going to make better decisions. That it kind of just calms them down a bit and makes it easier. And that way you can still have the food. You're probably not going to have as much, but whatever, making it a little bit better, that's all you're aiming for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So what do you think would work for you next time?
In that situation, you mean? Well, like you suggested, if because I don't think I did eat much yesterday before I went, so that was a thing. You know, I could have had a lunch with the right proportion of things, and then gone to dinner and, you know, had one enchilada instead of two wrapped in the tortilla, and maybe just had some of the protein from the taco instead of the whole taco. I could have just had that, skip the rice altogether, and just have the beans.
Options. That's all it is. That's all you're looking for is different ways of doing things, instead of, oh, this is a Mexican, I just may as well eat the whole thing. Sound good?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Don. I appreciate it. Now, Martin. Right, Martin. Very rudely went out for lunch or dinner again as well. So, you know, what's that all about?
Well, first of all, I must be weird because I absolutely love breakfast. I can have breakfast 3 times a day. It's my favorite meal of the day. So I think for me, I mean, 4 days is a very short time to have results and things. But what I really get out of is community and hearing other people's stories. Because it's nice to know that everybody's going through similar struggles, and hearing other people's stories motivates you to go and do something, and they'll think of something a little bit differently. So that's great. Breakfast wise, I think I've learned quite a bit about I'm going to go and try the overnight oats breakfast. I've been cooking oats porridge a lot the last few weeks instead of just my all brand flakes, which I love, but I'll do the balance. And then, yeah, we went to a Christmas fair today, and there was, when we came to the food section, oh my goodness. It was a trade fair, so there was samples and samples and samples. I avoided samples, but we did bring home 2 chocolate brownies, orange and marmalade. Oh, delicious, absolutely delicious. But I only had half of one.
There you go.
Yeah, and then going out for a meal again. It was, you know, I chose beef bourguignon. It's kind of home cooked meal. It's a bit, you know, it's not processed, and so it was, I guess, a little bit healthier. So yeah, I think again, in lockdown as well, I joined it's not running anymore, but there was a kind of a gay men's kind of life coach group that we got together every morning at 8 a.m. And the motivation that came from that was incredible. So yeah, just thanks guys for all the motivation.
Good. I'm glad you're getting something out of the 4 days. And as you say, 4 days is not long enough for you to like see weight loss or muscle gain or a change in habits. But if you want to sort of continue on with something like this, then there is a 28-day challenge in the group, which basically is kind of whatever you decide for it to be, but it will send you a little message every single day saying, did you do the thing that you said you were going to do? Whether that's meditation, whether that's getting protein in your breakfast, whether that's, you know, having one balanced meal per day. It's a good way of just sort of getting you to keep doing something for a period of time. Now, habits themselves can take anywhere between a month and nearly a year to actually fix in place, depending on what it is that you're doing. So doing a 28-day challenge it's a good start, but that's all it is. It's just to get you started and get you going. And I'm great that you're enjoying the community aspect of it. It's as I was waiting for the call to start, thinking, God, this has been hard work, but oh my God, I'm going to miss chatting with you guys. Because it really does. It does help sort of other people understand that it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It is helpful to share some of the issues that you're experiencing, because just because you've said it probably means there's about 3 or 4 other people that are thinking, yeah, I do that too. But they didn't have the confidence to say that. So that definitely is one of the benefits. And it's something that I probably will take forward and start to do something like this going forward into the future, because I think it does make a big difference when I'm doing the live presentations in the group, and it is just me talking with text coming back. It's not the same. It doesn't have the same connection with people. The biggest problem I have is time zones. So I can do it in UK time. That's going to be the afternoon or the morning US time. So if they're working, it's kind of difficult. Doing it the weekends, people are busy. It's very difficult to try and fit that in. But that is something that I would like to do in the future. So I'll see what I can do for you, Martin, to try and get more of that included. Cool. Is there anything in particular that you think I'm going to work on this going forwards?
My biggest challenge is my partner is a French trained chef, so he is the foodie, and and me telling him what he can and can't cook has to be done very sensitively. So he reads recipe books in bed in the morning, like newspapers, and loves baking. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge. And Portion loves food a lot. And loves a big plate, but cooks everything from fresh, and there's loads of veg on the plate, which is great. But I think we eat very late, and I always have a problem with that, because if you eat a big meal and then go to bed, it's not great. But I'm in charge of breakfast for myself in the mornings and lunch, so that's where I can make a difference and bring a bit more greens in.
Yeah. So scientifically speaking, there is no scientific evidence to say that the later you eat, the more likely it is going to be turning into fat. It really is calories in, calories out. So if you are eating more calories than you should do, although you may feel more uncomfortable when you go to bed, scientifically it doesn't actually make any difference. It's more about a comfort thing. There is evidence that if the later you eat, the more likely you are to have acid reflux, and that's just simply because you're lying down. But it doesn't really make a difference with weight or how your body stores fat. So you don't need to worry too much about that. It's more about a comfort thing and what you feel comfortable with. For me, if I eat too late, I'll get acid reflux. I have actually had acid reflux so bad that I thought I was having a heart attack and got taken off in an ambulance. So yeah, been there, done that. So for me, I know that I have to have my meals a little bit earlier. It was also to do with, I'm not gluten intolerant, but I can be a little bit sensitive to it when it's pure white bread or croissants or something like that, that will trigger off the acid reflux for me as well. So that it's kind of a combination of different things, but there isn't, you don't need to worry about eating later causing you to put fat on. It doesn't happen like that, so don't worry too much. But living with somebody that is a fantastic chef, yeah, my heart bleeds for you. But same sort of thing is that try and have a healthy snack so that you are feeling fuller when that meal comes up. Not full, but you're not starving when that meal comes up. And get into the habit of leaving a little bit left over on your plate. Shock horror, leaving food on your plate. I mean, who's allowed to do that? So I've kind of got into the habit of leaving enough to have the leftovers as a snack or a lunch the following day. It doesn't have to be enough to be a complete meal, but it can be a part of a lunch for the following day. It can be a filling for a wrap, or a little bit on the side that goes with some extra veg or salad or something. So don't feel bad about leaving, you know, a small handful of food left over. If you're satisfied and you're thinking, I'm getting to the point where if I finish that last bit, I'm just going to be full. If I'm satisfied, put that away, put it in a little Tupperware container, and just have it as a snack the following day. Throw the extra veg into the omelette, that sort of thing. Hopefully that will work well. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Martin. I really appreciate it. Scott, it's Scott. It's only because I've seen it come up. Scott, first of all. Ian. Ian, what's worked well for you?
That's all right. I quite often get called Scott, so I don't get insulted by being. And it goes back to my school days anyway. So.
Yeah, I get called Bailey all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's sort of. I think the easiest thing is beefing up the veg content. When I went out yesterday shopping, I deliberately picked up bigger quantities of the veg we normally have, and in fact went out today and went into a different shop and there's some different vegetables, so I put those in as well. So yeah, I think that's the easiest thing. I was looking around for the quinoa yesterday, and they just seem to have it in sort of small packets, and I thought that is that how they would normally sell it? Because
so you can buy it as like a ready mixed and just sort of heat up in the microwave type of thing. That just start with those to start with, but you will find them usually in the rice section of a supermarket. But you do have to dig for it first of all, and you will eventually find it in a supermarket, and then you think, why have I never seen this before? It's been there the whole time, but it is there. But initially, you'll buy them in the packets, and they're quite often they're mixed with quinoa and buckwheat, or quinoa and rice, or quinoa and something else. So go ahead, try that first. Just get used to it, and then have a look for the dried quinoa.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether that was like a very expensive way of doing it, like you get the flavored rice and that you just ping in the microwave, that sort of thing, which is ridiculously expensive. I did put back my usual pasta packet and got some whole wheat one.
Perfect. Yeah, and make it a little bit better. Yeah.
I will have to think about it when I actually come to cook it, as to cut down on my usual portion size.
One handful per person. The rest is veg. Give that a go. Actually, well, I mean, just get a brand new bag of pasta. Okay, make it normally, and then weigh the pasta afterwards and see how much you actually used.
Right. Okay. Because I say when I sort of do pasta, I plateful.
Yeah, I did a really interesting experiment with breakfast cereals when I was going on my rant a few months ago about breakfast cereals, and getting people to actually measure how much a portion of breakfast cereal was for them, because on the side of the packet it's like 32 grams per portion. It's like, that's not how much I use. And I got other people to measure it, and they were on average between 80 to 100 grams per portion, so 3 times as much. And it's the same with pasta as well. Don't worry about it. Just have what you normally have, and then weigh it, and see how much you're actually using. And then think about, how full do you feel? Do you feel stuffed? Do you feel full? Do you feel satisfied? And then just tone it down a little bit. Yeah. And the thing about the pasta as well is like most carbohydrates, it kind of swells up in your stomach afterwards as well. So you feel even more full.
Yeah. And then as the other thing I'd like to sort of explore more is sort of more variety of salads. Whenever I do a salad, it tends to be just the same thing. I'll have some lettuce, some peppers, tomato, onion and garlic and that sort of thing. And it's just really finding some different varieties of stuff to put in. I know try putting fruit in more than just salad stuff, and take it that really. So it's just really having a dig around to see what else, you know, to make up the varieties.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a play around and doing things a little bit different. Having salads out is usually quite a good way to get inspiration. So if you are eating out and you know gonna have a meal or something, have a side salad, have something else, because a salad doesn't have to have green leaves in it to be a salad. It certainly doesn't have to have iceberg lettuce.
No, I haven't years since I bought an iceberg lettuce.
What is the point in iceberg lettuce? It has no taste. It's not even properly green. It's just crap. So yeah, having something different. Just even like maybe a tomato and red onion.
Yes, I like that. I do that occasionally.
It really does give you something different. It's not a salad, but it's vegetables. It's salad vegetables. You know, it's all the same thing. Making some kind of a salsa or something like that can work really well. So just throwing in some chunks of vegetables and just tossing in a light sort of vinaigrette dressing. Great way of doing it.
I'm sort of, it's easier now, sort of having moved, that I haven't got the Waitrose and M&S to sort of have to try and avoid the ready meals. They don't do that over here. Not so much anyway. So, and what they do, I don't recognize.
Well, once a week, as a sort of a challenge to you, once a week, go and buy something you think, whoa, what's that? And just try it. Just see what it is. You might need to do a bit of Googling to find out what the hell it is and what you should be having with it.
And what you should do, well, what to do with it as well.
Yeah, do you cook it? Do you fry it? Do you just eat it as it is? Or, yeah, cool. So what is the one thing that you will be focusing on after this? What will you take away and really try to implement?
I just concentrate on the proportioning, and I mean, I sort of always tend to have veg anyway, but increase that size. And the other thing I need to get back into doing is restricting the alcohol intake. When we moved out here during the summer, it was just so hot that sort of when I finished work, just reached for the beer and reached for an ice cold beer, and that's carried on. So I need to sort of get back to just alcohol at the weekend and do it that way. So
yeah. Now, as I mentioned before, if you've got alcohol in your system, it turns off the fat, but very simplified process, but it kind of turns off the fat burning process. So if you are looking to lose body fat, having alcohol in your system will make that really, really difficult for you. So have it every other day. Have it like every third day. It's actually better to do that than just having it at the weekend.
Right.
Because if you just have it at the weekend, you basically kind of put your body through the cycle of detoxing, and then binging on alcohol, which I'm not saying that you do, but that's quite often what people end up doing. And the way that your body works is that when you have a small amount of alcohol on a semi-frequent basis, your body produces the enzymes to break down the alcohol, and it gets used to doing that. If you don't drink anything all week and then you just drink at the weekend, there are only so many enzymes that your body can produce because it's tapered them off. So if you do it that way, your body just cannot produce enough enzymes to break down the alcohol, and you basically end up with the alcohol in your system acting as a poison for a longer period of time.
Right. Okay.
So you're going to actually do more damage to your body and to your cells by only having drinks at the weekend. So I'm actually giving you permission to have a midweek drink.
Thank you.
But you have to take that out of the weekend drink.
Yeah.
I'm not saying drink more. I'm just saying spread it out.
Of course I'll do that.
Yeah, of course you will. Top tip: if you're going to a Christmas do and there's going to be a lot of drinking going on, same with eating. Don't save up and think, oh, I won't have anything to drink all week because I'm going to have a load to drink on this party. Actually, warm your liver up a couple of days before. Have a drink the 2 days before. Have another drink the day before that, so that when you actually go out for that drink, your body is more acclimatized to dealing with the alcohol. It's going to be producing more of the enzymes to break it down for you, and you won't get such a big hangover. But also have a drink of water in between every other drink if you are going out for that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense? Good.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you, Ian. So, Bill and Will, what did you get out of the videos so far, and what do you feel like you're going to be taking away and implementing on a regular basis?
You want to go first? No, you go first. All right. Well, I agree with Martin with the community piece. I've been working on this for about a year by myself, except working with Paul. And so it's really kind of nice having the community aspect of it. And so I've appreciated that and want to make sure I continue more with the website and with being a little more active participant there. The other thing for me is mindfulness, the meditation, I think is really important. I'm used to going very fast and furiously all the time, and I'm going to have to slow down dramatically. And that's a little hard to do. And just letting things, I guess, naturally occur and being meditative about what goes on is going to be something for me to have to process.
Yeah, and it is one of those things that does take time to get into, and it can be easily something that we kind of, oh, I don't have time to do it today, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it later, that sort of thing. But there are huge benefits to doing it on a regular basis and making it part of your morning routine, your daily routine, whenever it is, getting home from work, doing something like this. And this works with any habit, anything that you want to implement that isn't necessarily sort of nutritional food focused, but something you want to do on a regular basis. If you can link that with an existing thing you do already every single day, it makes it so much easier. One of the clients I used to work with, he would do his body weight squats whilst cleaning his teeth, because he cleans his teeth every day. So it's going to be easy for him to remember to do that at the same time. Another client of mine, he wanted to go for a walk on a regular basis. And because he was now working from home, there was no commuting walk anymore. So I've now encouraged him to do his walk after work to kind of make that break between work and home time. But he was like, yeah, but I don't want to just go for a walk. And I said, well, combine it with going to buy some more veg, because you probably need some more. And he went, oh, yeah, you're right, I do actually. Yeah. So pretty much almost every day, one of the reasons he goes out for his walk is to buy veg or buy a pint of milk or listen to one of his favorite podcasts. So he's tying up that habit with something else so that it's more likely to happen. So that might be something you want to tie in with something you already do, and then having the meditation as a before, during, or after event with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Cool. Anything else, Bill?
No, I think that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you. Will, what about you?
Well, it's kind of a happy accident, but I've been a fried chicken wing, chicken finger, and pizza guy for a long, long time. And coming to stay with Dad has got me cooking again, you know. So I've learned the habits and quite a few nice little side salads, and I'm not going to use the excuse that I'm just cooking for myself. When I do eventually go back home, I'm going to be committed to cooking. I'll be here with him for quite a few more weeks anyway, so it should be a pretty ingrained habit by the time I get back. And I live with some flatmates, and if I cook too much, they'll just get a little bit of the extra. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And also I took a lot from the community aspect of this and hearing all of you guys' stories, and I really appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes. This week I've lost a pound and a few ounces. So yeah, starting to get in the right direction already and feeling good about that. So
perfect. I mean, that's as Bill knows very well, that's kind of the perfect amount to lose, is just 1 pound, because that should mean that you don't feel like you're on a diet. You don't feel like you're missing out. You still feel full, but for some reason, you're losing.
I'm actually eating much more since I've been here, because you would have like an apple or a banana, maybe sounds pretty healthy for at work because they give away fruit. But then I'd come home and I'd have pasta and a grilled cheese sandwich because I was starving, and you know, that's no good at all. And so being more consistent with a healthier diet. And then I told him, you know, there's been up and down day to day, but over the week I've lost a little bit over a pound. And I told him this morning, I was really surprised that even though I'm eating so much more volume, that I'm actually lost a bit of weight over the week. So
yeah. And also when you are being particularly active, because you know, you're obviously rushing around for Bill, doing everything for him, which he really hates. You're being very, very active. You're eating really, really healthy stuff. So chances are you've probably actually lost more than just a pound of body fat, but you might have actually put on a little bit of muscle as well. And that quite often happens, which is why I get people to do belly measurements or think about how their clothes fit, because you can go through a long period of not losing any weight at all, but your body shape is still changing. And we've noticed this in particular with Bill, is that he'll go through a period where he's moaning about not losing any weight. And it's like, well, you're still losing a pound a week, so shut up anyway. But also your blood sugar's improving, your waist size is reducing. You know, there's lots of other things going on that don't show up on the scales. So if you can think of other ways to measure your progress, if you're not diabetic, then blood sugar is not going to make any difference. But yeah, belly measurements, waist measurements, the jean sizes, how clothes fit you, those sorts of things can be really good indicators as to, you know, how you're progressing. So bear that in mind. So, but well done on the loss of a pound. That's fantastic. And who was it that said you couldn't make any progress in 4 days?
Well, plus he's doing a lot of walking, because he walks down, we'll say, well, we need milk, or we need, you know, one thing from the store, and it's hilly here. And he's been doing a lot of walking down to the grocery store.
Even previous to this, we called it the Hill of Tears, because you go down, it's easy getting to the store, but then on the way back with the bags, you know, it's quite a steep climb to get back up to the top of the hill where Dad's house is.
Yeah.
And one question, Paul, that occurred to me earlier, you were talking about eating late, not really making any difference as far as weight gain and that kind of thing. But it seems to me, and it may not be true, that my blood sugars are higher in the mornings if I eat later.
So that again, that's going to be general advice for gaining fat. That will be different for you because of your diabetic status. So as you progress, you will probably notice that it has less and less of an effect. But for you at the moment, because of your medication and because of your blood sugar levels, it is slightly different for you. And also because the fact that you're actually not able to move as much as you can.
Right.
or used to. I mean, you used to do 15,000 steps nearly every day.
Right.
It's a massive, massive difference. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But again, that's more general advice. So not necessarily applicable to you, but it's more to do with putting on body fat rather than blood sugar levels.
Okay, good, thanks.
No problem. I did want to touch on one thing that sort of people have mentioned about sort of hunger levels and reaching a state of being satisfied and those sorts of things. One of the things that I'd like you to be really sort of quite aware of is you're supposed to be hungry before you have a meal. And a lot of people think that they need to fill themselves up so that they're full until their next meal. But actually you want to aim to be actually starting to feel a little bit hungry as your next meal time approaches, and being consistent with when you have meals, and that will make it easier for you. But there's being a little bit hungry is not terrifying. It's not a bad thing. It's not something you should fear. And if you sort of balance it correctly, you should start to think, oh, it's 5 o'clock. I'm starting to get a bit hungry. Well, that's because I normally eat about 6 o'clock. So it makes sense. If you're finding that, you're just cooking dinner because this is the time you normally have it, but you're actually not hungry yet, but the kind of the cooking of the food kind of makes you feel like you're ready to eat, and then you just eat basically what's over on the plate, that's where you've kind of got into a state of mindlessly eating and eating as much as you possibly could. Then that's just something I want you to just sort of be aware of. Being hungry in the morning, if you're not, then that's probably something you've trained yourself to be used to. Now, obviously, Martin is shocked and horrified that there are people that don't have breakfast, but it is quite common. So if you aren't feeling hungry, then that's probably because you've kind of trained yourself, or you're having far too much food in the meal before. So if you're having a really big late night meal, chances are you're probably not going to feel that hungry in the morning because you're still processing it, and your digestion doesn't work quite as well as you're sleeping because you're lying down. So it's kind of a little bit different. It hasn't got the gravity sort of pushing things down in the way that it's normally used to. So do allow yourself to experience feeling like you're a little bit hungry, and that's completely fine to do that. What else did we have here? So I think that was kind of everything I wanted to pick up on there. And let me just pop back the slides then. So Mark had to drop off. He's looking forward to having a chat with everybody on the group. And I think that Mikey also dropped off, but I think he's trying to get back in again. I think he's having technical problems. So hopefully he will try and join us in a minute, but he's going to get the recording anyway. So that's not anything too much to worry about. So let's share this screen again. So only a couple more slides. I won't be holding you up for much longer today. So I really want you to think about, this is kind of a project management term. So I used to be a project manager for one of the largest telecommunications companies here in the UK, British Telecom. And it's one of the things that we used to do a lot is gap analysis, working out where we are now, what we're trying to achieve, and what's this great big gaping hole in the middle that the project manager has to work out how to fill. That was my job. Most stressful thing I've ever done in my entire life, because it's all my fault that it's all gone wrong, despite the fact that no one else knows how to do this. But anyway, so I want you to do your own gap analysis. This is something that it's not going to be homework, but it is going to be something that I think that it might be useful for you to just think about going forward. Is where are you now? What is your current situation? What is your current status? And what is it that you feel that you kind of ended up having? maybe how you got there. What was the reason for you to be in the current situation that you're in now? Maybe it's a health issue. Maybe it's you've got a bit more weight than you want. Maybe you don't have the energy levels, or you're not sleeping as well. What is it right now that ails you? I guess is probably the good way of thinking about it. What is not working for you right now? And then the next thing is, where do you want to be? So what is the future you look like? Who are you going to be? What does that person look like? How does that person feel? What does that person do? What do they enjoy? Because quite often there are things that you're not doing at the moment that you'd like to do, but you haven't really either got the time, the energy, the motivation. You don't feel confident enough to do it. So what does that person look like in the future? Where do you want to be? And what's holding you back? So this is kind of part of the gap analysis. What is stopping you, or what has stopped you from being that person now? What's got in your way? What stopped you? Who has stopped you? What's been the situation? Has it been a difficult relationship, a relationship with food, work issues, stress problems? Maybe, I mean, obviously with COVID at the moment, there's usually somebody who's had a death in the family, because everybody's losing people at the moment because it's so common. So what's really been holding you back from already being there? And a part of me want to say, what's your excuse? Why haven't you done this already? But I think that's a very brutal way of saying it, because I think that's a bit sort of too judgmental. I think that if you can think of it more of a case of, if I had the luxury of enough time, enough energy, enough motivation, and all the resources that I would have needed in the first place to achieve that, what do I feel was missing for me not to have achieved that already? So hopefully that makes it a little bit more sense. And this is kind of something that I will go through with my clients on a regular basis, particularly when they first start, because thinking about where you want to be changes as you progress through that gap, as you go on your journey. So a lot of people say to me they want to be this weight, but actually I sort of warn them, as we approach that, you might find that target changes. It may go up, it may go down, but it might be that actually that wasn't realistic, or it was too easy to achieve. And actually we need to think about what else we need to put in there. But it's good to have a stake in the ground and a rough idea of where you want to be, so you're moving in the right direction. So again, it's more about the journey. It's not so much about the destination, because the destination could change. It could be a different point that you think, actually, I've hit 5 or 10 pounds higher than I said originally I wanted to be, but I feel better. I look better. I feel more confident. I've got more energy. Do I really need to lose another 10 pounds? Probably not. So just think about where you want to be, and be flexible with, actually, as you progress and as you move towards that goal, being flexible about whether actually or not you need to reevaluate that goal on a regular basis. Usually every 6, maybe 12 months. It's going to be different for everybody. And it certainly depends on how long a journey you have. For somebody that I'm working with that might want to lose 100 pounds, with my sort of preferred way of doing this, they're going to be losing £1 to £2 a week. So that's going to be about 100 weeks. That's quite a long time. That's like 2 years. So during that journey, there's going to be plenty of time for us to think, is £100 the right amount? Is it more? Is it less? How do you feel now? Do you need to slow down? Do you need to take a break? Do we need to reevaluate where this is going next? and there's going to be different struggles and frustrations and motivational issues with people, and they're all going to be unique. There are going to be some similarities, but everybody has a different relationship, a different connection to the issues that they're having. So a lot of people are going to struggle with making their own health a priority, because quite often people don't treat it as a priority until it's a necessity. And it drives me nuts. It really does. Because if you just worked at it a little bit earlier, it would have been easier to manage. It would have been more flexible. You would have been able to maybe enjoy the process a little bit more. Whereas if you're waiting until the point where, you know, you are ending up under doctor's orders that you have to do this, or God forbid you're in a hospital with, you know, after having a heart attack, then, you know, it really is kind of like, surely there must have been warning signals. Surely you must have thought this isn't good for you. What stopped you from taking care of yourself? Because quite often the biggest reasons that people give me for either not working with me or just not even just looking after themselves and doing this themselves is they have a child to look after, a partner who requires a lot of attention, or there's just a relationship dynamic that is causing them to have to focus more on their partner than themselves. Maybe looking after or caring for a parent or even a partner, and they are the priority right now. I can't think possibly about myself. I just don't have time. I just, you know, that would be selfish if I thought about myself. What would other people think if I decided to take some time out and actually look after myself a little bit? And that's kind of the situation of, well, on an airplane, when the oxygen mask comes down, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first, because you need to be fit, you need to be healthy, you need to be alert and awake and conscious to be able to help the people around you. And it's the same as if somebody is drowning in the sea or in a river, you have to think about your own safety first, because there's nothing worse than going to save somebody and that person who goes in to save somebody ends up drowning themselves. It just doesn't make sense. So think about making your health a priority. The next thing is the cost, whether it's the cost of healthy food. And a lot of people have told me, again, this seems to be an American thing, healthy food's too expensive. What? How? Vegetables are the cheapest thing you could possibly buy. It doesn't even have to be fresh. You know, canned vegetables, frozen vegetables actually quite often have more vitamins in them than the fresh stuff that's just been hanging on the shelf for a week. So saying healthy food is too expensive, let's have a look at that. Let's find out what is available in your local supermarket, your local food store, and let's find out actually what is it that you think is the healthy food, and let's see if we can find an alternative to that. I can't afford to pay for prevention, whether that is coaching with me, whether that is going to a gym, paying for a gym membership, you know, buying some exercise weights or something like that. Oh, I can't afford to do that because that we've got bills to pay. We're moving house. The Christmas is coming up. I need to pay for all these kind of other things and stuff. If you don't invest in your own prevention, your health care, you are going to be paying for this eventually a lot more. And I see this time and time again. And again, it's one of the things that really frustrates me is that people think that they can't afford to look after themselves, because again, it's either selfish or there are other things that have a higher priority. You won't be able to pay those bills if you aren't healthy and able to do the things that you want. And also think about the good things, the things that you enjoy, the things that you love doing. I'm a huge fan of dancing. I love to dance. And if I don't look after myself and care for my body, I'm not going to be able to go out and do my dance classes. And that's worth me spending the money on lifting a few weights, buying some barbells, or you know, hiring a trainer or something like that. It's absolutely worth it. Having the time, again, Christmas is one of the biggest things that people say, I'll start in the new year because I'm really, really busy right now. A lot of people have been moving house recently because we kind of reached a point in the pandemic when everyone's been waiting for so long to hold off moving, and then they've finally sort of, okay, I'm just going to do it. Oh, they need to wait until they've moved house and that kind of thing. Finding the right time to commit to this new healthy lifestyle, that's kind of perfection paralysis. You're trying to make it too perfect. If you can just be 5% better, then you should be able to find the time to do that. You should be able to find the food to be able to make it a little bit better, no matter how much time you have. A lot of people will not work with me until January. And actually, working with me now is probably the best time to do it, because you can get on the right track, still enjoy the festive period, but not do quite as much damage as you would normally do. So you actually start the ground running in January, instead of having to start the ground running with like, you know, asthma because you're so bloated and so run down from the festivities. So actually starting now is the best time, not waiting until the new year, not waiting until after your holiday that you have, not waiting until whatever it is, the new kitchen's installed. And again, the perfectionism. If you can't do it justice right now, you can't start doing it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, you know, 100% committed to doing everything right now. It just has to be a little bit better than it was yesterday. And if it's a little bit better than it was yesterday, you can keep doing that for a very long time, probably the rest of your life. And if you want to wait until it's going to be perfect, you are never going to start doing this. To be perfectly honest, I don't think this really applies to the guys that are on this call right now, because you've already tried to make it a little bit better. So you've already kind of got the idea. And yeah, so if I was going out to a Mexican restaurant, just say, for example, just throwing that out there, if it wasn't going to be perfect, then I may as well just, you know, just have whatever I was going to have and just go for it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be 5% better than it was. So having that extra vegetarian taco, and maybe not having all the bread or the tacos or the rice, it just makes it a little bit better. It does not have to be perfect. So I would like you to think of this as a fresh start. And your start is today, not tomorrow, not on Monday, or not next week, or not after the holidays, but right now. From the next snack you have, the next drink you have, the next meal you have, the next steps that you take, you're doing it because you want to be a little bit better. You want to lose a little bit of weight. You want to gain a little bit of muscle. You want to improve you know, your fitness by a little bit. You start right now. There is no reason to delay, because you aren't going to get healthier, fitter, more confident by doing the same thing that you've been doing before, that's been sort of on a downward slope. It needs to make a change. You need to make that commitment, and make that commitment right now. And think about why you're doing it. Right back to day one, when I was talking about my reason for focusing on being healthier. What's your reason? What's your why? What are going to be the benefits to you for eating a little bit less, having a little bit more veg, maybe having a little less alcohol, or not quite as frequently having as much alcohol. So what are your reasons? And I just really want you to focus on what that action is going to be. Now, that action can be having a chat with me. If you've not had your call with me, then I'd encourage you to have a one-to-one call with me. If your action is going to be to make sure that you have 50% of the veg on your plate on as many meals as you can, that'd be absolutely perfect. If it could be to maybe reduce the quantity of carbohydrate you have just by a little bit, then that would be a fantastic action to take away. And so your actions could be, make a list of all the things that you want to do, but only pick one. Because if you can focus on one thing to do, you're actually more likely to do the rest on your list as well anyway. And I've noticed a lot as a coach, that if at the end of the call, when I ask people to tell me what they're going to focus on over the next week, they're usually quite enthusiastic and quite excited and motivated, because they've just been chatting to me for an hour. So they're like, yeah, let's do this. And so they'll come up with a long list of things that they want to do. But I get them to focus on one thing. What's the one thing you're going to do? Because if I ask you to do one thing, it's really, really likely that you're going to do it. If I ask you to do 5 things, you will come back to me next week and tell me you have done none of those things, almost guaranteed. So I want you to think about, what is the one thing that you are going to do over the next week? But I want you to try to do that one thing as soon as possible. For those of you in America, do it today. For those of you in Europe, do it tomorrow. It's probably a little bit late to kind of do any actions right now, other than maybe have a little glass of wine and go to bed. But just think about that one thing. If you can't do it in the next 24 hours, come up with something else. Think about something else that you can do within the next 24 hours that is your first and your action, that you will be held and kept accountable for doing, because you're going to post it in the group. What's the one thing you're going to do in the next 24 hours, whether it's book a call with me, or whether it's have overnight oats for breakfast, or whether it's have 50% of your plate full of veg today. Whatever that one thing is, I want you to post that in the group. If you're not comfortable at posting in the group, just send me a private message instead. As you know, that works perfectly well. And I will then be checking in on you in about a week's time. And just to kind of finish off, really, I will be also in about a week's time doing the prize draw. So everybody that's taken part with the spa days, I've been totting up. Every time somebody posts something, every time somebody sends me a message, you get an extra entry into the draw. So I will be doing the prize draw for 3 months worth of nutrition coaching in about 7 days time, but I will do a live presentation when I hit that button. But I'm going to be adding in, so it's also going to give you a little bit of time to complete your actions, so that when I do follow up with you, that you have been able to complete this final action as well. And I'll tot up all the results. I'll put you all into my little machine and press my randomizer buttons. So obviously the more entries you have, the more actions you take, the higher a chance you do have of getting that prize. Just to finish off, you kind of mentioned this already, but I just like a sort of a one-liner really. What was your biggest takeaway from the virtual spa? So let me start with, I'll come back to Mikey at the end, because poor Mikey has been trying to get back on and dropping off. So you have terrible issues. So I will come back to you, and hopefully the other guys will have something to come up. So let me do kind of in a reverse order. So let me start with Bill and Will. What's your biggest takeaway from the spa?
I would say my biggest takeaway is just that I don't need to feel stupid or lazy for not being able to do this easily. I think that was the nicest thing about seeing the community and seeing the other guys who are obviously all smart, you know, guys who also struggle with this. And often I feel like I'm just weak or lazy or dumb. And that was really nice to have that takeaway that there's a lot of people out there that struggle with the same kind of thing. And it doesn't mean that I'm lesser than.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense. Bill, what about you?
I think my biggest thing is, again, that take the meditation and mindfulness piece and spend some time just slowing down and thinking about what I'm doing.
Perfect. Love it. Thank you very much indeed. Ian, what about you?
I think what I said in my bit before already, the proportioning, get that sorted, especially on pasta and rice days, because I think I'd probably be up to about over half. So that needs to be cut down an awful lot. And also the other, I suppose one other thing would be the meditation. I didn't do that today, shock horror, but a couple of times when I've tried it, I've enjoyed it. So I need to build that in.
Yeah,
That.
I mean, everybody's different. For me personally, I need to put stuff in my calendar to remind me to do something at a particular time. Because if I have like just a reminder that pops up or like a to-do list, it just sits on my to-do list. I need something that goes off. Now, for other people, that would drive them absolutely insane. They would feel like they're being badgered and beaten and bullied, and it just doesn't work for them. So they need something different. So that would be for them probably a good idea to, as I was mentioning earlier on, link it with something else. So link the activity with, I clean my teeth, I'm going to do my meditation. Something like that might be work. But obviously just do whatever works for you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Ian, thank you very much. Norman, what's your biggest takeaway from the spa?
I think that the fact that I'm not alone on this and we kind of start building a sense of community, I think that's really important. I hope that we can somehow stay in communication in the group. It's really good to see that, you know, that you are not alone on this and there's nothing shame to feel of, because, you know, just life happened. And we are on this together. That's good.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting as well that, you know, a lot of people that I have spoken to in more detail, you all have very different things that you are working on. You have different issues or different problems that you feel that you have that you need to work on. But a lot of the time, the solution is still the same. The solution is still looking after yourself. The solution is still being kind to yourself and eating a little bit better, getting a little bit more movement, a little bit more exercise, being kind to yourself, doing a little bit of meditation. This is kind of why I go for the holistic approach and not just focus on, right, you need to do this diet, this keto, this paleo, this, that, and the other. You know, some of those do work for some people. There are people in the group that are committed to a low carb diet, and if that works for them, then great. But I like to talk about fitness, talk about mental health, talk about motivation, talk about nutrition as well. It is all part of it. So you're definitely not alone, even though everybody else's problem or issue is quite different to what yours is. And there's, you know, to other people. So it's great that even though there's a big difference, there is a huge similarity as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Martin, what's your biggest takeaway?
Fright there.
Sorry, Martin. Wake up.
For me, it's the T-shirt. Just a little bit, or just a little thing. I can see. Yeah, I can see that. Just doing that one little thing, how that actually will start ticking other things off the list and building motivation. So yeah, just that one little thing is what I'm taking away.
Perfect. I mean, that's probably my biggest achievement, is that if that's what you're going to take away, because that's probably going to help you the most, because it's not trying to be perfect. It's not trying to make too big a change. It's reminding you that it doesn't have to be, you know, an all or nothing thing. All it does have to be is just a little bit better than last time. And it doesn't even have to be every time. Just as many times as you can, the more likely it's going to stick. But yeah, it really is just, I'm going to get that t-shirt printed. Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Martin. Don, what's your biggest takeaway?
I think for me, I'm going to piggyback off Martin because it's the same thing. The little bit better. And with relation to, you know, not just the food, but that's part of it. But also one of my goals is to just develop more muscle tone and just be overall more healthy. So I like the story. I think you shared the story of the guy who was doing his morning squats while he's brushing his teeth. You know, I've got one of those electric toothbrushes that has like a 3-minute timer.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's like, oh, that's a great idea. You know, it's I'm not determining how long I do it. The little brush is, and so I can do that that's just 3 minutes more squats than I'm doing now. So yeah, it's stuff like that. Just always making something a little bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the interesting thing specifically about doing squats is because it's the largest muscle mass on your body, it's going to open up the most number of receptors for absorbing the nutrition, absorbing the glycogen, which is basically carbohydrate, glycogen, glucose, then glycogen, and that's what's stored into your muscles. And that's where it's going to store the protein as well. So you're actually utilizing the largest muscle mass on your body to suck all the crap out of your blood and store it in the place where it's supposed to be. And the great thing about that is once carbohydrate has been stored in your muscle, it's never released for anything else in your body. It's only ever used for energy in that muscle. So by activating those receptors whilst you're doing cleaning your teeth, and then either before and after having breakfast, the nutrition is going to be absorbed into your muscles and it's going to be locked away in there. So it's going to be only used for that. The other benefit as well, being a man, is doing bodyweight squats ever so slightly increases your level of testosterone, which helps you improve and build muscle mass. And helps your libido as well, just in case you're interested. So yeah, bodyweight squats, if that's the only exercise you do, that will work incredibly well for you. So thank you for bringing that up. Cool. Thank you very much, Don. Mikey, now I know you've been dropping in and out. I hope you've got the idea. What's your biggest takeaway from the spa that you've been able to actually hear?
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what. Yeah, my biggest takeaway is not being embarrassed to talk about food, because that has been the thing that I've been fighting for a very long time. And I think obviously hearing everyone's stories as well, again, just to say, you know, it just goes to show that, you know, everyone's story is different, but we're all kind of in it together. And that has reassured me to actually take steps in the right direction. And I'm going to start with, you know, start off with one meal and then build, you know, making one meal that little bit better. Get that printed on a t-shirt, you have to. And then, yeah, just taking it from there. And also the other thing as well is to tie in being more active with a task, like you were saying about, you know, like going to get some more veg if you're going for a walk, and the squats and the brushing your teeth, that kind of thing. Yeah, so thank you.
You're very welcome. And it really has become paramount with working from home, because we are literally, our commute is like 20 steps. The most walking we get is going to the toilet. And one of the things I do recommend to people is increase your fluid intake. It makes you go to the toilet more. You get more steps in you increase your hydration. It's kind of a win-win, but it's really annoying, especially if you drink too late and then you're up all night peeing. But yeah, getting that combined, using your activity and using it as a break between your work day and your home day, because you know I sit in this room for 8 hours a day, and quite often I will think, I haven't actually got up and done anything for the last 4 hours. I really need to do something. So now I physically make myself, first thing in the morning, get on the treadmill, walk around the block, do something. So at least I've got that mobility into it. And then if I can go for a short walk during lunch, go to the shops, buy a pint of milk. It sounds so trivial and so pointless, but it's not about the milk. It's about me getting out and doing something. And then, of course, the other thing that I'm a bit of a gamer, so I can sort of pretty much highly recommend, if you haven't downloaded it already, download Pikmin. It's really stupid, but I used to have Pikmin on the GameCube and I used to play it all the time, and now it's like the Pokemon Go, but it's yay!
Guilty. I have that. I've got Pokemon Go as well.
Yeah, but the Pikmin is slightly different because it's done on step count. It's not done on kilometers, so you don't actually have to be moving in sort of a large area. You can literally do it on a treadmill. You can literally just do it walking around your living room. So it does give you that little tiny bit of silly motivation. My boyfriend wasn't terribly happy when I made him download it, but it's for his health. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much for that. So your homework is going to be to post that one action that you're going to do, whether it's book a call with me, whether it's have more veg, whether it is something else. Maybe it's not something we've even talked about. It's something that you've thought that may be good for you. Post it in the group, send me a private message, whatever it is that you're going to do, so that I know what it is, so that I can keep you accountable and check in on you in about a week's time to find out what's going on. Buy Greek yogurt. Yes, please. That'd be great. Yeah, have a go at that. And yeah, post it and I will follow up with everybody in about a week's time. I'll then do the draw and let everybody know who the winner is. I'll also, for those of you that have paid for a premium ticket or are a current coaching client of mine, I will be doing another format like this of a private Q&A. So if you want to be part of that, premium ticket holders will get that, or if you're an existing client of mine, will get that as well. And then we will take it from there. I'm also going to be asking you to do your after video, because you did the before video letting me know what you got out of the first day and what you were hoping to get out of the spa. So I'd like to have an after video, kind of like what we were just talking about just now. What did you get out of the spa, and what are you going to be doing now that you've done the spa, and where you feel yourself going forwards. I will send you out all an email and post it in the group, so you don't have to write that down and memorize it. It will be there for you to remind you. So let me just close down those slides. You'll be glad to know that's the last slide ever. Where's my unshare? Oh, I'm not showing the screen anyway, am I? So there we go. That's fine. Don't know what I'm talking about. It's been a very long day. Cool. So that's basically it. Does anybody have any questions? No. Again, thank you for taking the time to join me on this journey. I really, really appreciate it. I'm great that you feel like you have got at least something out of it and that you have some action to take away and start to implement. Certainly out of this, the sense of community has really shone through. And I do think that it's something that I try and promote, but it can be a bit of a struggle because people are shy, people are embarrassed, people don't want to talk about their own problems, the things that they're struggling with, because you feel like an idiot. I mean, and clearly from the conversations that we've had over the last 4 days, you all feel that you're struggling with something, but so are other people as well. And just making a few small changes will make that a little bit better. Thank you so much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paul. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.